What if the smiling humanitarian tour everyone saw was actually the beginning of a royal-level scandal quietly exploding behind palace walls? Because the moment this story surfaced on February 28th, the atmosphere around Prince Harry and Meghan Markle changed instantly. What looked like a polished international visit to Jordan suddenly began to resemble something far more controversial. A calculated move that critics now say crossed a line the monarchy never expected them to approach. And the name at the center of the storm? Princess Anne, known inside royal circles as the monarchy's toughest enforcer, the woman who rarely speaks publicly but whose words carry the weight of thunder when she does. According to insiders, the Princess Royal did not simply react to the situation. She delivered what many are calling a royal ultimatum that shook the entire institution. Because behind the glossy headlines of humanitarian smiles and hospital visits, a very different story was reportedly unfolding. One involving private letters, rejected palace doors, and a diplomatic embarrassment no one inside Buckingham Palace wanted to see broadcast across the world.
Do you remember those photos of Harry and Meghan's team on the balcony with the Buckingham Palace communications team? And at that time we said how there had been an agreement that they would sort of give them notice about their diaries so that they were aware of what Harry and Meghan were doing, and it didn't come as a surprise. Well, they are fulfilling that promise.
Disaster opportunists, which is exactly right. Disaster tourists.
A source close to the Sussexes told People magazine, their favorite outlet here in the United States, the couple are pro-family and pro-children, and their philanthropic work reflects this value.
Pro-family? Pro-family?
That revelation alone cracked open the entire narrative. Suddenly, the carefully curated images from Jordan began to look different. The handshakes, the hospital visits, the refugee camp appearances, all of it was now being examined under a completely different light. According to palace insiders, the trip that appeared to be humanitarian outreach was allegedly tied to something far more strategic, a global influence campaign mapped out long before the couple ever stepped onto Jordanian soil. And that's where the controversy began spiraling. Because sources claim that instead of following the traditional diplomatic route used by working members of the royal family, Harry and Meghan reportedly attempted something extraordinary, bypassing official channels entirely. Letters were allegedly sent directly to King Abdullah II and Queen Rania requesting a royal-level reception, not a casual meeting, a full royal welcome, the kind normally reserved for official state visitors representing the British crown. But there was one enormous problem quietly sitting in the middle of that request. Harry and Meghan no longer represent the crown. And when officials in the Jordanian court checked the protocol, the answer coming from London was blunt. There had been no diplomatic clearance, no authorization from the Foreign Office, no official backing from the monarchy. The response from the Hashemite royal court reportedly came back cold and unmistakably clear. The doors of the palace would remain closed. No meeting, no reception, no royal photo opportunity. Just silence. And inside Buckingham Palace, that silence reportedly triggered something explosive. Because when news of the attempt reached Princess Anne, insiders say her reaction was immediate and furious. This is a woman who has spent decades carrying one of the heaviest workloads in the royal family without ever chasing headlines. Charity work, diplomacy, duty, quiet service. For Anne, the idea that royal titles might be used to secure private influence abroad was reportedly unacceptable. According to palace sources, she delivered a remark during internal discussions that instantly began circulating among royal aides. A title, she reportedly warned, is not a master key for private advantage. And the message behind that statement landed like a thunderclap across royal circles. But the situation only became more controversial as additional details emerged. Reports suggest that the Sussex team had also attempted to arrange a reception through the British ambassador to Jordan, Peter Hall. Normally, such diplomatic venues are used for official royal events or government-backed visits. Yet insiders claim the couple still referenced their Sussex titles while requesting the gathering, despite clear instructions from London that they no longer operate as representatives of the sovereign. To critics inside the palace, the request reportedly felt less like a courtesy and more like pressure. And that moment, according to several insiders, pushed Princess Anne beyond patience. After decades defending the dignity of royal institutions, she was said to be deeply angered by the possibility that an embassy might be pulled into what critics now describe as a promotional-style visit. Meanwhile, outside the diplomatic drama, the public image of the trip continued unfolding exactly as planned. Cameras captured Meghan visiting hospitals in Amman, smiling gently beside patients, holding the hand of a young refugee child from Gaza in a moment that spread across social media almost instantly. At first glance, the image appeared appeared deeply compassionate. But royal observers quickly noticed something else, a striking visual echo of Princess Diana's famous hospital visits decades earlier. The same posture, the same soft handhold, the same emotional framing. Online comparisons exploded within hours. Some praised the moment, others questioned it, because inside palace circles, according to insiders, the scene was not viewed as spontaneous compassion. It was reportedly seen as something else entirely, stagecraft. Critics close to Princess Anne argued that Diana's humanitarian legacy grew from years of sustained work, not carefully timed photographs. And that criticism only intensified when another image began circulating, Meghan joining children in a football activity at the Zaatari refugee camp. Social media users quickly posted side-by-side comparisons with Catherine, Princess of Wales, during her 2022 royal tour. The stance, the kick, even the laughter appeared eerily similar. Inside the palace, those comparisons reportedly caused visible frustration. According to sources, Princess Anne viewed the entire sequence of images as an awkward attempt to mirror royal figures Meghan herself had previously criticized. And as the photographs continued spreading across the internet, another uncomfortable detail quietly surfaced at the same time. Reports revealed that Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, was recovering privately after a devastating leg amputation. The timing created a painful contrast that critics online began pointing out almost immediately, because during the same trip, Prince Harry was photographed examining a prosthetic limb during a medical briefing in Jordan, a moment intended to highlight compassion for injured patients. The symbolism of those two stories colliding created a wave of emotional commentary that spread rapidly among royal watchers. One insider reportedly summarized the growing controversy with a cutting line now circulating through palace circles. Compassion that begins 10,000 miles away but ignores one's own doorstep is not charity, it is choreography. And yet, as explosive as the public reaction became, insiders say the most worrying development wasn't the diplomatic rejection, the viral photographs, or even the online backlash. It was something else entirely, something quietly visible in the footage from the trip itself, because observers began noticing a strange and unsettling detail in nearly every appearance. Harry and Meghan no longer looked like a united front. Witnesses described Prince Harry as distant, drained, almost disconnected from the carefully choreographed scenes unfolding around him. The confident prince, who once defended his wife fiercely on global television, now appeared unusually quiet, almost withdrawn. And inside Windsor Castle, according to palace sources, that observation triggered a private emergency discussion between Princess Anne and Prince William, a conversation that insiders claim could reshape how the monarchy deals with the Sussexes forever. The meeting inside Windsor Castle that morning was reportedly anything but routine. According to insiders, Princess Anne and Prince William were not simply discussing a diplomatic misstep in Jordan. They were confronting something much bigger, a pattern that palace officials now believe has been unfolding quietly for years. The Jordan trip, critics say, may have exposed the entire blueprint, because during the emergency discussions on February 28th, aides reportedly presented documents connected to what insiders call the Sussex 2025 Commercial and Social Roadmap, a strategy believed to have been drafted by the couple's team long before the tensions surrounding their marriage ended. Public image began dominating headlines. According to palace sources, the roadmap outlined an ambitious plan designed to position Harry and Meghan as global humanitarian influencers operating outside the traditional royal system. Not working royals, not private celebrities either, something in between. A hybrid brand built around charity visits, international advocacy campaigns, and partnerships with global organizations. And right in the center of that strategy sat Jordan. The location wasn't random. Critics say the country carries deep symbolic connections to Catherine, Princess of Wales, who spent part of her childhood there and later returned during an official royal tour. According to insiders reviewing the roadmap, the Sussex team allegedly believed a successful visit to Jordan could create a powerful visual narrative, one that subtly placed Meghan in a similar international humanitarian spotlight. But the plan reportedly relied on one critical ingredient: royal-level recognition from the Jordanian royal family. A meeting with Queen Rania, in particular, was believed to be the centerpiece moment, a single photograph that could instantly elevate the entire trip from a charity visit to something resembling royal diplomacy. But when the Jordanian palace declined the meeting, that entire strategy collapsed. Instead of standing beside Queen Rania in a historic photo opportunity, Meghan was seen walking hospital corridors with her own photographers documenting the moment. For Princess Anne, insiders say this was the moment the controversy shifted from frustration to something far more serious. According to sources close to the palace, she reviewed summaries of the roadmap and reacted with sharp criticism. After more than 50 years years of charity work carried out quietly through organizations like Save the Children and has built her reputation on a simple principle: service without spectacle. Cameras were never the priority, causes were. And according to aides present during the Windsor discussions, the Princess Royal delivered a remark that left the room completely silent. "We are not a brand to be franchised," she reportedly said to the highest bidder in Montecito. The words spread quickly through palace corridors. Because if true, the roadmap suggested something deeply troubling for the monarchy: the possibility that humanitarian imagery could be connected to future media projects, streaming deals, or publishing opportunities. Critics began calling it the commercialization of compassion. But the tension didn't stop there. During the emergency summit, another subject reportedly dominated the conversation: Princess Diana. Because as images from the Jordan trip flooded social media, comparisons between Meghan and the late Princess of Wales became impossible to ignore. The gentle hospital visits, the soft head tilt toward patients, the emotional eye contact with cameras. To many viewers, the visual echoes were unmistakable. Yet inside the palace, the reaction was reportedly very different. For Prince William, Diana is not simply a historical figure, she is his mother, a woman whose humanitarian legacy was built through years of genuine engagement with causes like landmine removal and HIV awareness. According to insiders, he reacted with visible frustration as aides reviewed the viral imagery from Jordan. The feeling inside the room was that Diana's legacy was being turned into visual branding. And at that moment, Princess Anne reportedly delivered another cutting line that stunned those present: "One cannot inherit a soul by mimicking a photograph." The remark reportedly lingered in the room long after she finished speaking. But the most somber part of the briefing wasn't about Meghan at all. It was about Harry. Because according to witnesses and footage analyzed by palace aides, something about the prince's behavior during the trip felt deeply unsettling. In the original Sussex roadmap, Harry was supposed to be the central royal figure anchoring the couple's global influence, the recognizable prince connecting their projects to royal heritage. Yet in Jordan, observers described a very different image emerging. While Meghan appeared energetic and actively engaged during public appearances, Harry often stood quietly in the background, detached, almost exhausted. Witnesses described moments where he seemed less like a partner and more like a supporting figure in a production centered around someone else. One palace aide reportedly described the dynamic in blunt terms: he looked less like a participant and more like a prop. Princess Anne's reaction to this, according to insiders, was complicated. On one hand, she remains fiercely protective of the monarchy and deeply critical of decisions she believes damage its reputation. On the other hand, Harry is still her nephew. Sources say she expressed a mixture of frustration and reluctant sympathy. In her view, the prince appears to have lost control of the narrative surrounding his own role, allowing himself to drift into a situation that has steadily eroded both his public image and the credibility of the royal institution. By the end of the emergency meeting, insiders claim a stark conclusion had been reached: small responses would no longer be enough. The Jordan trip, the diplomatic rejection, the comparisons to Catherine and Diana, the questions surrounding commercial partnerships, all of it convinced senior royals that stronger boundaries were necessary. And so discussions reportedly shifted toward concrete action. One proposal circulating inside palace circles would introduce stricter diplomatic protocols for non-working royals traveling abroad. According to sources, the idea would prevent British embassies and diplomatic staff from providing official support for private international activities carried out by individuals who no longer represent the crown. Some aides have even begun referring to the potential policy informally as the Anne Protocol. The message behind it is blunt: titles alone should not create the appearance of official authority. Meanwhile, outside the palace walls, the public debate continues growing louder. Footage from the Jordan trip keeps circulating online, and the reaction has become increasingly skeptical. Hashtags questioning the authenticity of the visit have trended across social media. Critics argue the tour looked less like traditional humanitarian outreach and more like a carefully produced publicity campaign.